Okay, Chevra, so here we go. Basically, we're about to start a major series on Mashiach, resurrection of the dead, Gan Eden, the world to come. You know, like the light stuff in life. This is coming as a request because it's basically the only thing people want to talk about anymore is the big stuff. And late at night, when a person has a few moments just to think, if he's not up staying up the whole night just watching like football, so he actually starts thinking about these things, about life after death, about Mashiach, about some of the big stuff. So we're going to really get into this, and we're going to see the entire picture. We're not prophets, but we have the words of the prophets. And we're going to go and see the wisdom of the Torah. Because the world is moving very, very fast right now. A dizzying pace. People are clicking, people are moving, people are... We probably click our phones thousands of times a day. I'm really surprised people don't have as much, tendonitis problems. Everyone should be well, but it's so much clicking. How many images do we see a day? How many images do we see a week? It's tens of thousands. We're being so bombarded. The world is speeding up so fast right now. How many families do you guys know that have a daily family dinner? Let's sit down together as a family, have dinner together. This almost seems like something from like an old movie, like an ancient world that a family sits down and just has a family dinner together. Now, of course, everyone's busy, and everyone understands that, but there's something strange that's going on, that we seem to be moving at this dizzying pace going forward. But the question is, but to what ends? Where are we going? Where are we really going with all of the motion? Really, where are we going with all this? We're moving very fast. No one denies that. Everything is moving super. There's action. Everything's fast. But to what ends? Where is it going? Well, the answer is, we're really going to Mashiach. That's what things are moving towards. But the question is, am I aligning myself in that direction? We all know the question, like we've been talking about, would you rather be happy or rich? And it's so obvious, the answer. So the question is, so why do we spend so much time not trying to be happy? We just don't invest in that. If that's really what we want, why do we seem to be involved in so many other things? And how many people do we know that you could think about if you close your eyes right now? Take a deep breath. Picture in your mind's eye, how many people do I know that are truly happy, empowered, wake up with passion, sensitive people, relationship-oriented people, people that are trying to build something that's beautiful, that are balanced, that are really vibrantly alive? How many people can I picture in my mind's eye like that? And if the answer is not a lot, then what are we doing? Where are we going with this whole project of humanity? The more man seems to acquire, the more he seems to just more wealth and more property and more cars, the more that we seem to acquire, the existential chasm of our soul just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. We have a lot of stuff, but we just don't know what it's all about. But we've got a lot of stuff. Like my father would always say, whenever I'd come to the States or to Canada to visit, he'd say, it's the land of stuff. We got a lot of stuff over here. The land of stuff, it's great. Like, of course you need 50 different types of yogurt to choose from, right? If you didn't, it would be like very oppressive, You need all those. And it's great, I'm into capitalism, it's fantastic. But for what? Where's it all going? So we're accumulating stuff, so much stuff. As a side point, I was looking at the back of one of these magazines. I wanted a kosher magazine, it's fine. and on the back it was a big like advertisement for a string cheese. A string cheese. You guys know what the string cheese, like a piece of cheese that you pull down the little piece of the string from it. So the string cheese advertisement was a chalav Yisrael, and it had a certain flavor of string cheese. And the whole article was, the whole ad was, you haven't experienced life till you've had this string cheese. So I started thinking to myself, like, I better go buy one. Like, I hadn't been living since. I guess that's what they told me. But the problem is we all fall for it. We all think, I better get the string cheese. And it could be bigger string cheeses. It could be Jaguars and Lamborghinis and yachts and whatever. Where is it all going? Where are we going at this dizzying pace? And who's thinking about the questions of life? Do I have a soul? What difference does that make if I do? Is there life after death? Is there a purpose to my life? These are the major questions. Is there a world to come? And Baruch Hashem, we've been given a Torah. The wisdom of the Torah is going to guide us. And we're going to present basically a picture of how the Torah, including based on the sources from our sages, from Chazal, from the Zohar, from the Gemaras, from the Rishonim, from all the righteous through all the generations, we're going to place an emphasis on Rabbi Nachman, on his take of this entire unfolding of humanity, specifically as we move into, and you're going to see that as we move into the time of Mashiach, the time of the resurrection, and the world to come. And what we're going to see is that the way that we speak about these things are not separate concepts, but they're rather spoken about as one full mosaic. And you're going to see them all blend together, all of these concepts. In many places, we're going to jump from past, present, future. We're going to see the whole unfolding as one picture. And one thing that's going to be very amazing is that we're going to see that the time of Mashiach is not so much something in the future, but rather something that we're already in now, that we're already begun. The era of Mashiach is something that we're in now. I want to read you something from Rav Nachman. If you have your Likutei Moharan, so you can see it afterwards. Kuf Pei Vav 186. Rav Nachman is speaking here about tzaddikim, about the righteous people. And he's speaking about when you really are connected to righteous people and connected to their words and connected to believing in the things that they do and they say, you'll see that they can perform many miracles, many wondrous things. I personally had the merit, I still do, Baruch Hashem, to be close to the Lulav Rebbe. And he helped me in my life with it was so obvious, a miraculous event that happened. There was somebody that was involved in a very toxic relationship, and he told me to do something. And I didn't understand it exactly at the time, what he was saying, and then all of a sudden I saw retroactively miraculous things happen based on what he was talking about. And Reb Nachman says something interesting. He says like this, it's a few lines down, Azai achar kach. When you go and you talk to a tzaddik, sometimes a righteous person will say things to you, and he'll explain things to you, and you won't exactly know what's going on. He might be telling you different things. That's why I always listen very carefully to the words of the righteous. And he's going to propose and present some ideas to you. And in his words, there's layers of meaning. He's hinting to many, many layers of meaning. And then what happens? I go home after seeing the tzaddik, Kuf Pei Vav. After meeting with the tzaddik, and I go back to my house, hang out with my wife, talk to my kids, hang up. And all of a sudden I start looking at my life. This could be days later, weeks later. And all of a sudden I see in my very life all the things that the tzaddik was talking about, I start to see them come together in my life. I didn't understand what he really meant when he was telling me. But all of a sudden I go home and I start to see like signs, like writing on the wall. And I realize, now I know what he was really talking about. I didn't understand when I was with the tzaddik. I didn't understand what he was saying to me at that time. But later on I realized that retroactively all the things start making sense to me. I didn't understand it then. But later I start looking at my life and, oh, that's what he meant. Oh, wow. That's what he meant. Like, that was amazing. Oh, he meant that. Oh, he meant that. I didn't understand it right away. Sometimes it takes time. It says that you only really understand the words of your Rebbe after 40 years. That's why the Jewish people took 40 years for Moshe to say over Sefer Devarim, because then they could really get what he was teaching them the whole time. Even now I find that there's certain things that my Rebbe was telling me years and years ago. I'm just starting to, oh, that's what Rav Yoel meant. Now I'm seeing it in my life. I couldn't understand it then, but now I see he was hinting to things that are unfolding in my life. So look near the end. The Rebbe says like this, V'chein matzino exile neviim. What, halfway down? We find the same things when it comes to the prophets. Listen carefully. Shebe'eisha amar hanavi nevuah. The time that the prophet says one of his prophecies, Haisa beremes, he's speaking in code. You open up the Tanakh, it's in code. It's hinting to all sorts of wondrous things. So you can't always understand it at first glance. V'loi hayim evinim nevuasei beferish. Almar merames. You don't always understand exactly what does the prophet mean. I don't understand. What is he talking about? He's talking about certain concepts. What really does this mean? V'yachakach. But afterwards, Kishiniskayim divrei hanavi, when the words of the prophet, so to speak, come true, the prophet prophesies something, and he didn't understand it because he didn't see it, and all of a sudden you see it happen, what he was talking about. Hayoidim lamafreya, you know retroactively. Shiniskayim divrei hanavi, shisnabe v'ramaz al zemi koidem. Now I understand what he was talking about before, and he was hinting to something, but now I see it with my two eyes. I see it. It's real now to me. It was hard for me to relate to it back then, but now I'm seeing it unfolding in front of my very eyes. And they understand what the prophet was really talking about. That's what he meant. I couldn't understand it then, but now I know what he means. The most famous is the prophet Daniel. It's known that Daniel the prophet focuses tremendously. We have a tradition. He's speaking about the messianic unfolding. But when you look at the prophet, you don't always understand what is. I don't get the analogies. I don't understand exactly what he's saying. Shemaram is al soif keitz haga'ula. He's literally talking about the messianic unfolding. V'ata devarim stumim. Now the words of the prophet seem concealed. I don't get it so much. Shekosov Sham, it even says, Sesayim advarim v'chasay. The words of Daniel are sealed up. They're buried. They're locked up. The secrets are covered over. Ki ein adam yodeh ata ech merumesh sham zman haga'ula. We don't know exactly how to unpackage the secrets that lie within. Aval la'asid. What's going to happen as the messianic story continues to unfold? In Yirtzeh Hashem, it should mamish be right now. K'sheyikuyim advarim, when all the things that the prophet was talking about start happening before our very eyes. V'yagia kates ha'emes v'yava Mashiachenu, and the end of days comes upon us, and Mashiach comes. He should come right now, mamish omei. So then what's going to be? Then we're going to see, oh, Daniel, I see what you were talking about before. I see what you were hinting to from the very beginning. I couldn't see it then, but now I'm seeing it unfolding in my life. I'm seeing, I see what you were talking about. We are going, and like he says, you find that many of the prophets, we are going to be looking at so many sources that maybe for millennia, people were scratching their heads and saying, what is this really talking about? And we're going to see countless, endless sources that is so obvious talking about now, right now. Today, Hayoim, the unfolding of Mashiach, we're going to see things that you will feel in your life are happening now. And are what the prophet was talking about the entire time of the messianic unfolding, meaning that it's already begun. We're already in the game. We're well into the game, my friends. Well in. We're moving towards the end of the game. And we're going to move from past, present, and future. A few points about the past, present, and future. The prophet spoke a lot about Jewish exile. About the temples being destroyed before it happened. They spoke about, and like in the Parsha, Avram Avinu, Abraham, and the Bris Bein Besarim, they're going to be in a big exile. It's going to be a very dark period where your children are going to be in a land that's not their own. And it's going to be a very, very challenging time. Very challenging, very dark time. And it's going to begin by your children feeling very comfortable in those lands. When we went to Egypt, we were met with a royal procession. Probably even nicer than what's happening in the new building, which is very nice. That's very nice. Rav Pinto, Shlita. It's beautiful, beautiful. And Yosef Atzadik, who's the viceroy, we lived in Malchus. But then soon, V'yokam Melech Chadash, a new king arose who didn't know Yosef. And all of a sudden we started slipping into a very dark exile. In Spain in the early 15th century was the golden era of the Jews. We were rich. We were some of the richest people in the whole world. We could have bought Israel back. There's a story for another time about the Rebbe from Rajin who would always tell the story. We had enough money to buy back the land of Israel from the Sultan of Turkey. We was the golden era. We were scholars. We were wealthy. Positions of power. That was 1490, 1491. Then 1492 came. Expulsion, Inquisition, medieval Europe, exile. But it all began with we were accepted in Europe, and then came the expulsion, the blood libels, the pogroms, the crusades. Arab countries, we became comfortable, high taxation, restrictions. We were the most elite in Germany, in Russia. We had high positions of power until the monsters, the Nazis, Yamach Shemam, and communism. We rise up and exile. France was a place of growth, of wealth for Klal Yisrael, and now we know what's happening. And in America, the place that Moshe Feinstein called Eretz HaChesed, so beautifully, the land of kindness, because the land of America has been so good to us, and we have to keep it good. We have to make America great again. I mean that, Chevra. Mamish, go vote now for the president, who's so pro-life, who's so pro everything that the Torah stands for. Baruch Hashem, a shliach ne'eman to go vote. And still, what we've seen to be our safe haven is becoming dangerous. Hashem Yirachem. And anti-Semitism is on the rise. And there's countless videos out there of just too many things of the anarchy and the terrorism against Jews. And this, sadly, will only end when Mashiach comes. And this was all prophesied, that there's going to be exile, and only once we get it together, as we keep seeing over and over, the exile, as the prophets are telling us. And now, where else are to go? To a Tahitian island? Everywhere. We're going to go to the moon. The exile has gone and spread its tentacles everywhere now. moving into the present, the prophets saw an end to this exile. There will be an end. There will be a case, there will be an end to the exile. And Klal Yisrael will come back to the land of Israel. As was prophesied, as is happening right now, there's more Jews in the land than any other time since the temple stood. We are in an unprecedented time in Jewish history where the Jews are coming home. We are coming home. As is prophesied that we will come home, reestablish the land, and when we are in the land, like has been documented through all time, the land will bear fruit that does not make any sense. What does the physical soil and agriculture have to do with the people there on top of it? Unless you say that they're just smarter, but that doesn't make sense because there's been a lot of very smart agricultural people here. But something about Klal Yisrael, like the Gemara says in Ksubas, Kuf Yud Aleph Amud Beis, look over there, amazing Gemaras about the land of Israel, that when Jews are in this land, the land will flourish. Look around. Have you not noticed? This place is green. It's unbelievable. We were just in Kitron. Green grass. It's nicer than my in-laws' lawn in Pennsylvania. It's nice green grass. This place, it's a desert. This is a desert. And it's blooming. And we export fruits. We're a desert country and we export basically to the whole world. When we come back, there's a flourishing. It's happening before our very eyes. There's a miracle of us being here. That is messianic. When we come back, the prophet says, you're at the end game. You're at the end. When the Jews are back in the land and the land is producing fruits, look what is being produced here. So much of this series is going to revolve around waking up that it's happening now. Not that Mashiach is going to be sometime later. You're going to see so many experiential moments in your life. You're going to put the whole thing together like a big mosaic, that it's happening now and you're a major player in this. All this is prophesied. The Navi says in Yeshayahu, an amazing thing, Samach Yud Zayin, that in place of copper there's going to be gold. Talking about different metals. What does that mean? It means that in place of copper there's going to be gold. What's worth more, copper or gold? Gold. In place of copper there's going to be gold. Because all of the nations who took things from us over all the centuries and all the millennia, they owe. In place of our copper, they're going to pay us gold. We're going to make some good interest on the deal. And we're starting to see nations investing in Israel. We're starting to look at these deals. Do you understand what the president just did? Just like brokered deals with Dubai. And starting to bring resources and connections and money. Things are moving back in this direction in a very, very powerful way. The nations are investing in Israel. Something is going on. And the future, there's going to be a lot more. The future, when Mashiach comes, everything is going to be focused on God, nothing else. Every single website is going to be God. Every single one. There's going to be nothing else. The entire focus of life is going to be on becoming close to Hashem. The entire focus of life is going to be on being close to Hashem, which means that was the focus the whole time. But we're missing it. We're missing, unless we start to get it now, to focus on that relationship with Hashem. All of that era of Mashiach is going to be focused on that. And I have to read you one Zohar as we finish. The Zohar says that the miracles of the times of Mashiach will be even greater than the miracles of leaving Egypt. The 10 plagues are pretty good, Chevra. Splitting the sea, that was pretty impressive. Those are all from the 49 levels. But when Mashiach comes, we're going to have miracles from the 50th level. Ki meit seis chameretz Mitzrayim, aren niflois, nun plois. I'm going to show you the Plia from the Shar Nun. You're going to be opened up into a whole new realm of understanding. We're going to talk about the different types of the 8-stringed harps and the 10-stringed harps. There's going to be new consciousness. There's going to be a new note added to the octave. Do you know what that means? You don't, because that's beyond understanding. That's beyond the 7 notes of the octave. There's going to be things happening this year that are going to pull us beyond what we're busy with and that fast-paced thing that doesn't make me have a dinner with my family. and we're going to be pulled into a new reality, and the job is, can we do that even right now to be continued Yesher Kaya?